So I wanted to have this video up by early Friday afternoon, but while editing the video, I saw my computer was due for an update. And so I updated it thinking it was just gonna take I think maybe it was gonna take an hour max, but the update ended up taking 6 hours. Jeez. So because of that, I had to wait all day before I could even start editing this video, let alone start uploading it. I hate technology sometimes. Hello, 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 and it is the most wonderful time of the year where everybody begins to say happy holidays. And guess what? With that time, with this season comes holiday movies, comes Christmas movies. Unfortunately, the sad reality is most movies that you would consider Christmas classics, whether it's Miracle on 34th Street, It's a Wonderful Life, The Santa Claus, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Home Alone, Elf, and yes, Die Hard, most of those movies are mostly white. Well, David A. Talbert said it is time for a change, and so he wanted to see a magical Christmas movie that his son can identify with, and so he wrote and directed Jingle Jangle, which just premiered on Netflix today, Friday the 13th, which is an interesting day for a Christmas movie. And this tells the tale of decades after his apprentice betrays him, a once joyful toy maker finds new hope when his bright young granddaughter appears on his doorstep. And before I really get into my thoughts and get into my review, let me just ask you, please, please, please smash that like button. YouTube is doing a bunch of algorithm changes, and the more people smash that like button, the more YouTube feels that this video is worth putting out there to my subscribers or people that don't subscribe to me, and recommending this people so more eyes can get on this video or any of my videos or just my channel in general. So please, 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 with any video that you see of mine, please make sure to hit that like button and watch the whole video, of course, too, because YouTube does also look at watch time. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, what you need to know going into this movie is this is not just a regular Christmas movie. No, this movie is a movie musical, which actually kind of makes sense if you know the history of David E. Talbert. Like, David E. Talbert is mostly known in the black theater circuit because that's how he got his start doing musicals for black audiences. And I hate to do this comparison, but he's basically following in the same footsteps of how Tyler Perry got his start, and his first feature films were actually Baggage Claim, First Sunday, and Almost Christmas, movies that I've never seen, but some of you may have seen it or at least heard of those movies, so that's who David E. Talbert is. But this movie has a star-studded cast with Forrest Whitaker, who plays the lead, Jeronicus Jangle. You have Felicia Rashad, Anika Noni Rose, Keegan-Michael Key, and then you also have John Legend, who helped produce the music for this movie. Oh, and I forgot, Ricky Martin is also in this movie. He does the voice of a toy come to life named Don Juan Diego. And overall, like, I really thought this was a cute and well done movie. Like, and the thing I really appreciated for this movie is it seems like Netflix did not skimp on the budget for this movie. Like, the production design for this movie was incredible and gorgeous, from the sets, the costumes, to the fact that they filmed in this town in London. Like, everything just about the look of this movie was gorgeous. And actually, this movie reminded me of another black children's fantasy movie that I would consider a classic, Brandy's Cinderella from Rodgers and Hammerstein. And actually, I love that movie, and I feel like that movie does not get anywhere near the credit that I think it deserves. And honestly, I think that was the first time I've ever seen a black Disney princess. And this was years before Tiana, because that movie came out in '97. I think Princess and the Frog was 2009. And Brandy's Cinderella was a way better movie than Princess and the Frog, but we're not going to get into that discussion. Also, side note, really quick, as I lay in bed editing this video, as I mentioned the Rodgers and Hammerstein Brandy's version of Cinderella, I'm just like, car drive by, but I'm just like, why isn't Cinderella on Disney Plus? Like, that movie is a classic. That movie should be on Disney Plus. So if there's any type of legal problems or whatever that Disney needs to work out, they need to get that together, because that movie needs to be on Disney Plus for the people that grew up watching that movie, or the children that have maybe never seen that movie, and a new generation can get their eyes on that movie. And plus, Whitney Houston Listen, need I say more? Disney, get it together. But something that I mentioned before when I reviewed the musical Over the Moon, when you talk about a musical, what do you want to have? You want to have catchy songs. You want to have songs that you're singing well after the movie is over. And this movie had that. There was a couple songs that I found myself singing along once I learned the chorus, bopping my head to it, singing after the movie was over, wanted to go back and listen to the soundtrack. Like, I really enjoyed the songs for this movie. And I just love the whole Broadway production feel that you got watching this movie. And actually, I'm like, I miss Broadway. I want to go back to Broadway, but let's get rid of this virus first before we start opening things up. But yeah, with that said, there were a lot of fun characters. One of my favorite characters actually in this movie, the character of Miss Johnston, played by Lisa Davina Phillips. Like, she just cracked me up the entire time that she was on screen. And yeah, like, overall, I just really had a great time watching this movie. This movie was black boy joy, black girl magic, black boy magic, black people magic, period. Now, with that said, is this movie perfect? No, this movie isn't perfect. I wouldn't give this movie a blockbuster. And the reason I wouldn't give this movie a blockbuster is because I felt like there were certain things in terms of the script that they tried to pack so much into this movie that by the end of the movie, I felt like there were things that were unexplained, and it had me scratching my head and asking a lot of questions once the movie was over. And this is a very, 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 very mild spoiler. It doesn't really tell you anything about the plot or anything about the sequence, but I still wanted to put this warning out there just in case, because there are some people that don't want to know anything. But like I said, it's not going to tell you anything about the story. But in the beginning of the movie, you have Felicia Rashad's character who's reading from a storybook. She's telling the tale of Veronica's Jingle. And while she's reading the book to these two kids, she says to the kids she's never told this story to anybody before. But then once you get to the ending of the movie, once you realize how the story plays out, and you say, wait, but if she's never told this story before, that doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense because then this doesn't make sense. And then I have questions here and I have questions there. And how does this happen? And then, so I'm like, that's something I feel like they probably should have worked out in the script. And then of course I have other questions that I'm not going to go into because then that would be spoilers. And then also on top of that, I wish Anika Noni Rose's character, considering this is Anika Noni Rose, and then considering the character that she played, I wish she had more involvement in the story. And then also with that, with any type of movie, Keegan-Michael Key is playing the villain. Keegan-Michael Key is playing the apprentice that betrays him. And with any story, you always want to get more from the villain. And I feel like Keegan-Michael Key wasn't in this movie that much. You didn't really get as much from him as at least I wanted to. Also, another thing that caught my eye regarding this movie, and I know this movie is filled with magic and wonder and mysticism, but I feel like the biggest magic trick regarding this movie is, how did this little girl, this light-skinned little girl, grow up to be this brown-skinned Anika Noni Rose? Yeah, I have questions. But overall, I feel like these gripes are minor and they didn't take away from my enjoyment of the movie, but those little things are what keeps this movie from being a blockbuster. But still, overall, I feel like this is a very solid Christmas movie. If you have kids, if you have a family, this movie is definitely a family movie that I will recommend, especially if you're watching this review and you're black and you have black kids. Definitely sit down and watch this movie with them, because yes, I just loved all the blackness that we got on screen. Finally, we get a black magical Christmas movie, and I love the messages that they told in this movie. The messages of forgiveness, the messages of family, the message of never giving up on yourself even when things seem hard, the message of finding your place in the world. And one of a very important message that they kind of tell in this movie is just the idea of having patience. Like, sometimes we want things to happen on our timeline, and because they don't, we end up taking a different route, and sometimes a route that ends up leaving us worse off. But if we just simply waited, more than likely exactly what we wanted would have happened if only we waited. Patience. And there's actually a line in this movie that after it was said, I almost teared up, where Forrest Whitaker character says, "A child with an imagination always belongs. Never be afraid when people can't see what you see. Only be afraid if you can no longer see it." I was like, message! But yes, if I had a wish, I would totally love to live or even visit this black imaginary fantasy magical world. Hashtag representation matters. So yes, Jingle Jangle on Netflix, I would say, is a solid hit. But the question is, have you guys seen Jingle Jangle? What did you think about it? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, if you can, hit that thumbs up button and like this video to really help out the channel. If this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.